And welcome to the Outs Flightdeck, podcast dedicated to Montreal. It's football, presented by our good friends over at Royal Retros, where you don't need a time machine in order to get some sweet, sweet throwback merch. Head over to royalretros.com, use the code Flightdeck at checkout, and you will save 10% off your entire order. I'm Tim Capper. You can find me on X or Blue Sky at Repact. That's REPPACT.
Greetings from friendly Manitoba. I'm Cliffy D. You can also find me on X and on Blue Sky over at Cliffy D.
Is that their motto that's on the signs when you come into Manitoba, or is that's what's on their license plates?
License plate.
There we go. Okay. Probably says it when you come into the thing too. You just probably can't see it because you're flying in.
Could
Unless they
very well.
have it a big one pointing up at the sky, and the pilot says, "Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you look outside the right side of the airplane, you can see that our big sign that we spent way too much money on that you can see when you're flying into Manitoba."
I just think back to the Simpsons episode of Welcome to Winnipeg. We were born here. What's your excuse?
Oh, the other one that keeps that keeps popping up today, where Nelson comes up and whacks some guy in the back of the head, and he goes, "That's it. We're heading back to Winnipeg."
Yeah, I used that as I was leaving the Montreal airport.
How are you, buddy? And as everybody can see, you are not in your Montreal studio. You are in de facto, I guess, state Studio B of the Alouettes Flight Deck headquarters.
I was going to say flight deck headquarters in Winnipeg right now.
That's right. Hmm.
So yes,
Yeah.
I was going to say coming at you live, but I'm not really live. We're not live now. So yes, but
Yeah.
yes, I am officially here at Winnipeg, officially ready to rock for Grey Cup. So I mean, whew, it's the calm before the storm because a lot of the big media events and everything that we're going to be a part of, and hopefully being able to produce a lot of content for all of you listeners and watchers. It all starts on Wednesday, and I'm excited. I am so excited to be able to do this. And if it's going to be anything like what it was in 2023 when we were there live at Grey Cup and doing all the media rounds and everything like that, folks, get ready because we are going to bring it for you for this Grey Cup.
Yeah, I hope so, because if not, I will have wasted all that time on the new graphics package. Yes, so stay
You
tuned.
just
There is a new playlist on YouTube, and I think there may be some certain audio, certain other ones we may put on audio. That's something that Cliff and I will decide at that moment. But uh, we'll all be there. I'll be leaving on Thursday. I'll be joining the crew, and as Cliff said, get ready. We do things. We're gonna do things good, good, and you guys will like it. So,
yeah.
um, but the reason why we're talking about this, and because Cliff is currently in Manitoba, and the reason why is Tim paid an ungodly amount to fly out to Manitoba because he booked his flight so late. It's because the Alouettes advanced to the Grey Cup by beating the Hamilton Tiger Cats in the East Final for the very first time in 55 years by the score of 1916. Um, First, great to get that streak out of the way. I mean, at
Man.
55 years, yeah, mind you, it is longer than currently than what Hamilton's streak is at winning a Grey Cup. But yeah, it just everything just came together despite what we now know when it comes to certain injuries and stuff like that. But all in all, Cliff, um, a lot of the players prior to this game had told us that they wanted to go the route that they didn't want to stay at home and wait for the East Final to come to them. They wanted to go on the road and make sure that they follow the exact same path that they did in 2023. And so far, so good. The Alouettes are now going to be in Winnipeg for the 112th Grey Cup.
And yeah, you can't help but see a lot of the parallels that are happening between 2023 and 2025. Uh, Great example. In 2023, the Alouettes beat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in a playoff game. In 2025, the Montreal Alouettes beat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in a playoff game. In 2023, Montreal Alouettes won a playoff game at Hamilton Stadium. In 2025, the Montreal Alouettes won a playoff game at Hamilton Stadium. In 2023, Montreal Alouettes beat the team with the best record of the CFL in a playoff game. Who's got the best record in the Canadian Football League in 2025? Why, that would be the opponents of the Montreal Alouettes, the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I tell you, it's starting to feel a lot like 2023 again. Just maybe different ways, different. Like maybe it's a little more abstract than what it was in 2023, but the parallels are eerily similar. And I know this team wants to talk about running it back and doing things the way they did in 2023, and why wouldn't they? Because it worked. But at the same time, there's still just enough differences here that will give this. If the Alouettes are able to walk away with their ninth Grey Cup championship this coming Sunday, there's just enough differences to really give this Grey Cup a feeling of their own, its own sort of identity in and of itself.
No, I completely agree with you, and I think it's one question. If we get the chance to ask Coach Moss this question, whether it be you before I get there or when we both get there, to talk about the similarities, not necessarily just in what has happened in these two postseasons leading up to this week, but also the team identity. How does the 25 team and how they feel, how are they versus the 23 team? Um, I can imagine there will be some similarities. I can imagine Coach Moss also saying that there's two completely different teams. I wouldn't be surprised if he did say that. But
Mm.
obviously, stay tuned. Hope we can get that question answered. Um, as I said, the Owls come into this thing, and it's true, Cliff. I mean, Davis Alexander really has been the catalyst for this team to be able to get where we are.
Mm.
And, he's 11-0 as a starter in the regular season. He's now 2-0 in the playoffs. Um, it just seems that when Davis is under center, he just seems to be, uh, I guess could we say he's the glue that is holding everything together? Because people will tell you, yes, the Alouettes were 3-8 with Davis when Davis was on the mend. Um, But it just seems that this kid who came into Trois-Rivières all those, just a few years ago that we saw for the very first time, finally gets his shot, and he is just one win away from, from winning his very first Grey Cup. Sorry, as a starter.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because yes, he does have a Grey Cup ring from 2023, but there's a big difference between being a member of a championship organization and being an actual Grey Cup winner. Yes, he dressed for the game. His name is on the Grey Cup trophy as being a part of that 2023 championship team. And for some people, that'd be enough, but not for Davis Alexander. I mean, you talk about how he talks about how he's built different. He's built to be the quarterback for this team. He's built for this league. All the things that he's built for. He's not built to just be content, just having his name on the trophy as a participant because he just happened to be on the right sideline. No, he wants to be the man. He wants to prove that he's the man. He wants to prove that he can get the job done. And this is going to be, he's got that golden opportunity this coming Sunday. And there's no question in my mind, Davis is going to do everything he can to, one, prove that he is who he says he is. Two, shut up all the haters. And believe me, he has amassed quite the collection of haters now. I mean, it's funny.
No.
At first, people were like, "Oh wow, this kid comes out of nowhere, and it's so exciting, and he's such a dazzling quarterback, and he's doing all sorts of incredible things." And now people are just like, "F this guy, he's a jerk. He's got such a punchable face. I hope he gets injured." People just have this vitriol for him all of a sudden now. It's
Yeah.
because he beat your team, probably. Is it because he carries himself with confidence? It's so funny, Tim. I find most Canadians don't like when someone believes in themselves or bets on themselves or has that confidence. I want to call it swagger, but and I guess in a sense it is a little bit of swagger when it comes to Davis, but I see it more as confidence. Like it kind of teeters on cocky a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, but it's only brag. I keep saying it's only bragging if you don't back it up. And Davis has been doing nothing but backing it up. Every time he steps on the field behind center and leads this team and starts a game for the Montreal Alouettes, all he does is win. Why wouldn't you be confident at that point? If you've won your first 13 games that you've started as quarterback, wouldn't you be just a little bit confident? Maybe teeter on cocky just a little bit, but at the same time, Davis has never struck me as anyone who believed his own hype, who believed his own press
Mhm.
clippings. Like he just shows up and comes to work. And okay, some of his antics, sure, I guess could rub people the wrong way, but you know what? All he does is win. That's all he does. I mean, eventually he will lose a game, whether it's this coming Sunday, next year, next decade. Who knows? We could be seeing like a Bill Goldberg esque streak of like 138 and 0 kind of thing. You never know with when it comes to the Canadian Football League. But yeah, Davis Alexander has the the opportunity of a lifetime to cement himself as the next great Montreal quarterback. He, he's on a hell of a path so far. He's done some amazing things. Getting his team to the Grey Cup game is amazing in and of itself. If he can get the dub, as far as I'm concerned, that puts him. I think that you had asked me earlier this year about do we consider him a legend at this point? I think if he does go out and win that Grey Cup, I think you would have no choice but to consider him a legend.
I would think he would be top tier status. And people talk about cockiness, something that may come off as being cocky or whatnot. With all honesty, if the Alouettes fans should know right away, there's a huge difference between Davis Alexander and Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel was an ass. He was an ass. Davis Alexander is not. He's confident, but then again, how does Davis Alexander differ from Nathan Work other than not being Canadian? How does it differ? You
Well,
know what I
Nathan Rourke
mean?
doesn't do the whole money thing, which I gotta say, if I gotta find a negative about Davis Alexander, I'd prefer he find another way to
Is he doing that or
show
is he
up.
doing this? I think he's doing this. The people can't see me. I don't think he's doing this. I think he's doing this.
I mean, it's very similar though. That's the thing. I mean, maybe he is just
I get it. Yeah.
doing that, but like doing the money sign, I'm like, oh, that's not a good look, bud.
I don't think he's doing. Hey, it can't be any worse than what was his name? Off the top of my head, I can't remember. It just escaping me. The one quarterback who the Alouettes brought in because he was a second string quarterback and he was doing the Gator chomp.
Oh, that would be Chris Leak.
Yeah, Curse League. You know what I mean? But still. Um,
He did win a national
and there,
championship, so once again, you can carry a certain amount of swagger, but then at the same time, if you don't win games in the CFL, which I don't believe Chris Leak ever did win a game in the CFL, so
no, and you know what? I think another question that we could ask. And by the way, just to let people know, we are going to be reviewing the game today, and we will be having our pregame show on Flight Deck Live. So we won't be talking about the game this week coming up, but we're going to leave that to our pregame show. Um, but I think I lost my train of thought. I'm curious to know one thing we could ask Davis about too is that how does this what he's going through now? Because I'm going to have to do some historical research if possible. How does this relate to him when he was playing at Gig Harbor? Because we know I don't think Portland State got into the playoffs when he was there. I'm curious to know if anything like this ever came up when he was playing high school football in Gig Harbor. I don't know. Something I'll have to see if I can pull one out of the woodwork and surprise him with a question. So, um, the game itself, very unique that something that you would think that would happen during the regular season, stuff like that. Hamilton bringing out the blackout game.
hmm.
Um, and it was done very well, by the way. I swear the fans came out in droves. They really did. Whether almost everybody, less the people who were wearing Alouettes red, white, and blue. where everybody was in black and yellow. The sellout crowd was just absolutely amazing at Hamilton Stadium, Cliff. They were passionate, they were boisterous. Sometimes they were downright mean. I mean, just some of the comments that we heard while we were sitting in the stadium, it's true. And even by the way, talking to some of the players post game and hearing some of their comments, they were getting the gears from the Hamilton fans also.
Oh yeah. I mean,
So,
what doesn't help too is that the benches are not terribly far from the stands. I mean, it's not like the old Ivor Wynne Stadium where it was like the benches were basically right against the wall, and fans could literally lean over and just hurl obscenities and whatnot at players. But yeah, I think I think Alouettes fans or the Alouettes players definitely got an earful from the Hamilton faithful, and you know what? I think that fueled them. I think that just gave them that much more motivation to show them up and try to shut them up. And well, I mean, it was easier said than done, but yeah, definitely. That's one thing that you can definitely say about the Hamilton Tiger Cats fan base is they brought the passion, they brought the excitement, they brought the energy. Again, they understood the assignment when it came to the blackout. I mean,
mhm.
I give the Alouettes organization a ton of crap because they try to do these whiteout games, and every time it just looks pathetic. And guess what? The Alouettes have never won a whiteout game. However, Hamilton, these fans understood the assignment. They came dressed in black, a little bit of yellow, but mostly in black. I mean, I don't think it had that same intimidation factor, and maybe because there was Alouettes fans there with like blue, red, white, and blue, and just little dots of color here and there. But I mean, for the most part, they got that effect. And when what really got me though was the way that the Tiger Cats came out, like as they were coming out onto the field, like fireworks. They got like
Mm.
a walk up, like almost like a boxing match or wrestling match. The way that they just walk into the arena, it was pretty incredible. I mean, they do it up properly. It was definitely a sight to be seen.
I will admit the 23,000, excuse me, the 25,399 announced sellout crowd was absolutely it was a sight to see, and it was a joy to be because obviously last time when you and I were there, no, yeah, last time you and I were there, it was for Grey Cup. You were there before I was. Uh, the same week that I had gone to Hawaii, you were there for a game with our executive producer, and I'm sure the atmosphere was completely different.
Oh, night and day. I mean, yeah, you couldn't even begin to compare. I mean, Grey Cup's an animal all by itself. So I mean, like seeing at the time Tim Hortons Field the way that it was for Grey Cup, I mean, is nothing compared to what it was like for this atmosphere. I mean, it truly
Mm.
was something to behold. And for Alouettes fans, it's a good thing that for the most part they were all kind of clustered in one section because I'm not saying that Hamilton fans would have done anything untowards to Alouettes fans. Like you know, I I don't want to imply that they would have gotten violent or belligerent or anything like that, but like I'm all for friendly chirping. I'm all for giving each other the gears here and there. But I mean, you
Wasn't
talked
much
about
of
on
that
flight deck,
though.
yeah. But you talked about on Flight Deck Live, like how you felt this was a very hostile crowd, and it had the potential to be extremely hostile. But give the credit to the Alouettes; they almost reveled in it, I think. And you saw it with
Yeah.
Davis Alexander. Like every time he made an outstanding play, sure enough, yeah, he was you know gesticulating to the fans and almost like egging them on a little bit, trying to goad them into something. And
Yeah.
you could see the vitriol was just at a fever pitch.
Yeah, I would say, you know what, the way that everything how the Owls fans were grouped together, to me I'll just put it this way, birds of a feather flock together. You know what I
Ooh, I
mean?
like that. I like that.
So,
There is safety
um,
in numbers.
yeah, yeah, again, it was, you and I hearing the it's like these guys were going through 12 degrees of something. It's like they're going through their own AA meeting because, one of the guys next to us went from Davis says that, you suck, da 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 da. And then Bo Levi, oh my God, you can't make that throw. And Bo Levi, see, I told you guys that you're one of the best quarterbacks. I was like, Jesus, you know what I mean? But that's football. I get that
Pick a
that's
lane.
football.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, itself, it led into, by the way, we didn't see it until afterwards, but that fiery speech by Davis Alexander, that profanity-laden speech by Davis Alexander was hype. I would love to hear the unedited version. I don't know if we ever will. Um, but that was just absolute hype. And he made references to what happened in the past. That people, you know what? For players who don't say that they keep receipts, don't believe a damn thing they actually say to you. Because that's exactly what they did. And Davis brought it up specifically, Bo Levi Mitchell standing over the DB after he scored his first rushing touchdown in 10 years when they were in Montreal earlier this year.
Yeah.
So don't believe the
But,
hype when they say that they don't hold receipts. Oh, we know they do. We know
of
they do.
course.
There's bulletin board material galore.
Yeah. And if that's what it takes for this Alouettes team to get hyped, to get fired up, to, you know, have their quarterback, lead the charge, I'm all for it. I think that's the way to do it. And yeah, it was actually incredible to see. You don't really see that all that often though, or at least not in the CFL. Like that kind of receipt keeping is incredible. And I was amazed because Davis Alexander was on the sideline for both games against the Hamilton Tiger Cats due to his injury.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a couple times too he was kind of chirping back and forth with Kenny Lawler during those two games and other people as well. And you know what? It's funny. It's all well and good to chirp and try to get in their head a little bit, but all the Tiger Cats had to do was just go scoreboard. But Davis, he took that instance. I think it was Lorenzo Burns that Bo Levi Mitchell was standing over and trying to establish dominance. So the fact that Davis remembered that, used that as to light a fire under himself and under his teammates as well, absolutely sensational. And clearly it worked because look at the end result. And man, that's cinema, folks. I mean that you want these games to mean something. You want these games to be special. And the Eastern semifinal was pretty special for the Montreal Alouettes because they played at home. They knocked off the five-time Grey Cup participant Winnipeg Blue Bombers, sent them packing early, and then to come into Hamilton, where, as you said, they haven't won an Eastern final in Hamilton in over 50 years, and to go and put together a master class like that, absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, and the game itself, you look at it was not your typical game. I think both the East and West semifinals actually they're very similar in each way, obviously ending and et cetera, et cetera. Um, but yes, you mentioned on Flight Deck Live, it was scoreless after the first quarter.
Mm.
And it was only 6-3 at half. As you
Which,
said on
which
Flight Deck Live, it's almost as if they weren't trying to make sure that they didn't make a mistake. But what's funny is you come out after halftime, and both teams on their first drives of the second half each scored touchdowns. And this game, I won't say a switch was flipped, but something changed at halftime to get both these teams going. Luckily for the Owls, they had the ball first, and they were able to score that touchdown and go up by 10.
mm,
But it was just chipping away here, chipping away there. It wasn't your typical CFL game, especially when you look at the game from last week. It wasn't the same in any way, shape, or form. Completely different.
no, this was truly a defensive battle. I mean, Noel Thorpe, the defensive coordinator for the Alouettes, versus Brent Monson, DC for the Tiger Cats. This was a chess match between these two, and absolutely incredible. I mean, you both teams literally had to fight for every yard, every play, every first down. You name it. Like and, yeah, we love touchdowns. We love lots of points on the board. We love you know a shootout, even or however you want to call it. But honestly, a good defensive battle is something to behold, and that's what this game was. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have been bored to tears because you're not getting a lot of touchdowns, but once this game got going and once they started figuring things out, and just you saw little cracks in the armor on both teams, really, and that's what allowed those two touchdowns to be scored, respectively. But this defense, both these defenses definitely came to play. They brought everything. I keep talking about empty the clip. I mean, you gotta spend it all because there is no tomorrow for one of these
Mhm.
teams, and you can't hold back on anything. And neither team did. I think truly both these defenses played their asses off, and you saw it. I mean, that the reason 19-16 is not a typical CFL score, but man, that it makes for great drama. It makes for great, as I said, cinema. Like what an absolutely spectacular defensive display from both teams. That's to the point where you're almost sad that someone had to lose this game. I mean, if you're an Alouettes fan, obviously you're glad that your team went on to the Grey Cup, and if you're a Tiger Cats fan,
Mhm.
you're extremely disappointed that you came this close and maybe trying to end that Grey Cup drought. And now you're gonna have to wait till next year to try and end it. But I mean, as far as defensive performances go, both these teams, they did the thing and they did it spectacularly.
By the way, I was doing a quick research after the game itself, Cliff. Did you know, there was an East semifinal in 2013 in Hamilton, that the Alouettes lost? Um, guess what the final
Hmm.
score was?
1916.
1916. I mean, and mind you, it was an East semi. That was an East semi, that was an East final, but, um,
But
both teams,
it's
both.
still sorry, it's still the idea that for Alouettes fans, it has to feel like death by a thousand paper cuts watching all of these previous defeats in Hamilton, whether it's Ivor Stadium or Tim Hortons Field, or actually did that 2013 semifinal, was that not played in Guelph, if I recall correctly?
Well, I know it went to overtime, so I don't know if it was in Guelph. Let me check real
I,
quickly. I'll
I
tell you
think it
right
was
away. Yes,
so I
sir,
think
it was.
so. I mean, it's kind of funny. I was about to say, like, just like regardless of what stadium, whatever you want to call that particular stadium that sits in Hamilton right now, the Alouettes just for whatever reason couldn't get the job done, whether it was East semifinal or Eastern final. They had to get this monkey off their back. They had to get off that schneid, and what a way to do it. I mean, simply put, we talk about defense wins championships, just like you saw in 2023. This is a championship caliber defense for the Montreal Alouettes.
Fewest points scored by the Alouettes in a win in the playoffs since the East Final in 1979, where the Alouettes won 17-6 versus the Ottawa Rough Riders. I mean,
Wow.
I know we talk about history and stuff like that, and you look at the game too. Each really had one mistake. Bo Levi in the first half, where a completely underthrown ball got the Alouettes an interception. Davis not seeing the DB in the second half, um, on his interception.
Well,
But
it
you
felt like
got to
he threw
admit,
it. He threw it just past Charleston Rambo
yeah.
and into the defender's arms. Like it was just 100% a throw that Davis would love to have back. And I'm sure Bo Levi would feel the same way about that Wesley Sutton interception as well.
Well, I think Bo's interception in the first half was more detrimental to them than Davis's was, because Hamilton was driving on that play when
Mhm.
he threw it. So again, there were certain things that here and there that went for each team. On the touchdown by the Alouettes, if I'm not mistaken, there was a PI called on Hamilton, which allowed them to continue the drive itself. Um, you had some weird plays across the board. Um, but really, it was pretty well. It was a clean game, really, by both teams, less those one interceptions each by each player. Um, but man, I mean, I know there's more to the stats themselves, and we will get to them real quickly. We did go them over a little bit on Flight Deck Live if you haven't watched it. It was a shorter version because we got kicked out, uh, but it was still well worth it. Being able to have Flight Deck Live there live after the East Final. We still have to talk about the a couple of things, and I'll leave the Davis thing here second. Let's talk about the running game. Travis Tice returns. And, having STE active last week really didn't he really was an afterthought. I don't think he even got a rush or an attempt. Having Tice back in the backfield is a great 1-2 punch for this Alouettes. Even if potentially with what may be occurring or what may be an issue in the game on Saturday, I feel better knowing that both these 2 guys can just run like a bowling ball. I mean, you think about it. Think of the 3 guys right now that are gonna be, that are gonna be being able to carry the rock this week for both these teams. They're big boys. They're
Hmm.
big boys, and they can bowl people over. But tell me, what's your thought about having Tice back and now having a pretty legitimate 1-2 punch?
What I think was absolutely outstanding. There was one drive that the Alouettes put together, or that Davis Alexander and the Alouettes put together. It was truly, I joked, it was brought to you by ground and pound because that's exactly what the Alouettes did on that drive. Whether it was Stevie Scott, Travis Tice, or even Davis Alexander, it was run, 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 run. Just force the ball down their throats and just keep pounding. And it was great to see. And there was a couple of really nice throws to Travis Tice as well. I mean, not only can this guy run like the Dickens, but he can catch the ball too. I mean, like a nice
Mhm.
dual threat, which is always great. But watching both these downhill runners just absolutely chip away at this defensive line by the Tiger Cats and just make the defense work for everything. What was kind of anticlimactic though was the Alouettes first and goal. Davis Alexander drops back. It looked like he wanted to, it was a play action. He faked it to Scott. It looked like he was ready to throw it or do something, but then Hamilton just came and they brought the house and unfortunately sacked Davis, which led to a Jose Matos Diaz field goal. But it was still one of those things like a great, absolutely beautiful drive, and it just I don't want to say it sucked to only come away with 3 points, but I felt anticlimactic. Let's put it that
Right.
way.
That seemed to be the Alouettes that we've been seeing over the past couple of years that really were the woes. The reason why Jose Matos Diaz set a team record for most of made field goals in a season. Um, was that the play though? Was that the drive where the ball was snapped early and was that the one that surprised Davis where he got sacked on that second play? If I
Yes.
remember, I can't remember if it was that one or where they were backed up in their end on their end zone. I think it was that one. Um, but I agree with you. Having both these guys now back out of the backfield, Al's getting back to being able to use their running backs on screen plays can be huge. And we saw it happen we saw it happen in the Western Final also. Same thing happened with Saskatchewan. They did the exact same thing also. Um,
We know Davis
the
Alexander
Al's.
was a good hitch route, so it,
Mhm.
I mean, and again, if you have to use either Tice or Scott as your check down, I mean, you could do far worse than that, as far as I'm concerned.
Right, and again, the other wide receivers too got into it. Again, the numbers weren't that big. Davis only had 210 yards. He had that touchdown, but 19 to 26. Talking about running, Stevie Scott had 48 yards. Tyrus Tice had only 18, but he did well in the receiving and leading the team was, this is shades of 2023 where Davis led the team with 64 yards and some great runs too. Um, Receiving wise, we talk about Rambo. He had 34 yards and wearing his new cap, which kept on coming off by the way off his helmet, especially on that last drive for the Alouettes. Snead 57 yards leading the team. Tice
Hold
had
on,
had 52. So
Hold on. Sorry, can we talk about Tyler Snead for a second here? Because
please.
what what a gamer! I mean, regardless of the touchdown that he caught from Davis Alexander to start the second half, uh, towards the end of the first half, the Alouettes are driving down the field. He hauls in a beautiful pass and then just gets absolutely wrecked by Stavros Katsantonis. I mean, like blown the f up, and he gets back up like it's no big thing. Didn't lose control of the ball. Didn't fumble. He just took a licking and kept on ticking. He really is a Timex watch, this young man. I mean, I keep calling him
no, we're not
Cahoon
sponsored by them.
3.0. Not yet. Maybe one day, but I keep calling him Cahoon 3.0 for a reason because very much like Ben Cahoon. Like as far as a slot receiver goes, he gets those dirty yards, takes a beating, and comes back for more. I mean, tougher than a $2 steak. Tyler Snead truly is. He really has become the next Ben Cahoon. And if we're gonna anoint Davis Alexander the next Anthony Calvillo, who better to be the Ben Cahoon than Tyler Snead? I mean, they're already roommates, right? They're already living together
Hmm.
in Montreal. Why wouldn't they be a great connection? Why wouldn't they be that awesome pair that helps bring the Alouettes to the promised land? I mean, I guess if you wanted to do a true Cahoon and Calvillo connection, I guess it would have to be Davis Alexander and Tyson Philpott because Philpott's Canadian, Ben Cahoon's Canadian. I said that in parentheses, but
Air quotes. Yeah. No, I agree, but it just seems that if we can see Davis at 100% healthy, because we know he came in this year with hamstring issues. We know this. We saw it, I think it was almost from day one, but he looked good. He looked svelte, a little bit more svelte. I think he put on a little bit more muscle.
Mhm.
But that's the thing now that we're leading into is that Davis late in the fourth quarter on a tackle, quote unquote, tweaked his hamstring.
Yeah, you saw him
You could
reaching
tell in the
for it.
Yeah, you could tell in the last drive that it did hamper what he wanted to do, but Rambo was where Rambo needed to be and helped them set up that game-winning field goal by Jose Meltes Diaz.
That was absolutely clutch by Charleston Rambo. That one pass that almost looked like a dump off in a way. Like
Mhm.
again, Davis Alexander, he throws it in a phone booth practically. Like that's how tight the coverage was, and somehow Charleston Rambo was able to catch the ball, get the first down, bleed more time off the clock. I mean, absolutely incredible. I mean, just the wherewithal to be able to do that. And as you said, it was so funny to watch him do that while wearing that massive Guardian cap. Like
Mhm.
a little bizarre to see aesthetically, but hey, if it helps him make catches like that, if it helps him, have that confidence to be able to be there when Davis Alexander truly needs him, again, more power to him. Is truly a
And it's a
sight to see.
question we'll
And
have to ask. We'll have to ask Charleston about that. I'm very curious because all of a sudden it's just popped up. In the playoffs, it popped up. So there's a reason, you know, we'll find out. Thoughts though, because we've heard, and it's not really spoilers because everybody knows that everybody knows everything, obviously, at Grey Cup because everything is asked and everything is printed or talked about. We know Davis is A. We know Davis A received, and this is received some quote unquote good news from the doctors on his MRI based on his hamstring. That's all.
mhm.
I guess that's all the elaborate how they went into it. That's it. He's still doing his normal routine that he would have, as he would on an off week when it comes to during. I don't want to say rehab, but they're doing work on his hamstring, which is what again this is what they were normally doing since he's come back.
Mhm.
Your thoughts on this when it comes to Davis? I think obviously Davis is playing. We know this. It's just a matter of how much will the game plan change potentially? Um, I think there's a difference though with Davis being behind center, even with a potentially uh, uh, pulled hamstring, is that he has the arm to be able to help him. He may not be as mobile, but in my opinion, he's more mobile than an MBT would be, and he has a better arm.
Mhm.
Thoughts on the Davis thing, and we'll move on because we got what again. We'll talk about the game more in detail uh, on our pregame show on Sunday over on Flightdeck Live. So stay tuned for that. But thoughts on the Davis Alexander injury and what it could mean, and uh, what the future may hold.
It's definitely concerning, as it has been all year. I mean, you said it right off the top. He came into training camp with this issue, and whether it was trying to work through it or hopefully it wasn't as severe as it was, and it just happened to get worse. First in Edmonton was when we first noticed that he was hobbled by it. Uh, Came back for that epic game against Toronto, scoring the game-winning touchdown, but he really did a number to himself yet again and ended up missing a lot more time as a result. And then when you look this past Saturday, when you see him clutching for that hamstring yet again, your heart sinks as an Alouettes supporter, and you're just going, "Oh my God, why? What? No, what? Like this can't be. Like this is not good." But as you said, the doctors gave some good news after the MRI. So it's not great, but it's not bad, and it's just simply a matter. He's going to be doing all kinds of treatments throughout the week. I definitely don't see him, you know, blowing his brains out in practice. Let's put it that way. I definitely see
Right.
him doing the things that he needs to do. He's gonna still make plays. He's gonna still run the offense as only Davis Alexander is able to do. But he's got to almost be on a mental pitch count as far as you know the, if he has to run, keep it to a minimal. And this is where this offensive line for the Montreal Alouettes really truly has to step up and play the game of their lives in order to protect Davis, in order to give him time and space to make throws. Like make I don't ever want to see Davis Alexander strictly as a pocket passer. That's not his style, at least not now. Maybe in time he will have no choice but to become a pocket passer. But right now, what makes Davis so exciting is the fact that if he gets flushed out of the pocket, he can still scamper and get rid of the ball.
Hmm.
Usually into the hands of one of his receivers. I don't want to see him get put into a situation where he's going to make things worse and have it possibly affect his career as a result, because he really has shown that he is something special, and I would hate like hell for this to shorten his career as a result. I mean, yes, I know that after Sunday they've got a good 6 months to recuperate, rehab, do all those things, and there's no question in my mind that that will truly happen. If surgery is a possibility, I don't know. Maybe it's not even that bad. It's hard to say. At this point, all we can do is speculate and just hope for the best when it comes to that. But truly, I think Davis is going to have to play intelligent football on Sunday when it comes to making use of his receivers, making use of his running backs. The offensive line's really truly got to be a wall around Davis. You cannot let Saskatchewan come after him, because like it or not, Davis has a huge target on his hamstring. They are going to be going for that. They're going to be doing everything they can to flush him out and make him overexert himself or do something where he ends up getting hurt to the point where you're going to have to put somebody else in at quarterback. And
Yeah.
that somebody else would be McLeod Bethel Thompson, who, again, did beat the Saskatchewan Roughriders in Saskatchewan. If this game was being played at Mosaic Stadium, then I'd be like, hell, I'd even start MBT just for the mind games, just for the simple fact that he seems to play his best football in Saskatchewan. But unfortunately, this game is being played in Winnipeg. And the last time we saw MBT in Winnipeg a couple weeks ago, not great. But
Right, and this is also an MBT that has been playing the entire year since we found out, with some sort of arm slash elbow issue, and we still don't know the extent of it. So it's
and
more obviously this is more for us to talk about on the pregame show. There's gonna be a lot more storylines, including, will Cabe and Ento be able to just put this one away because he had a bad day. He had a bad day. But again, these are more storylines that we're going to bring up on the post game show. Want to remind everybody we are excuse me, yeah, on the post game, pregame show. Sorry, we are
Okay.
on social media. Don't forget, you can find us on all the podcast aggregates. But if you want to find out find the entire history of the podcast, you can go to www.alouettesflightdeck.ca. You want to find us on X or Blue Sky, you can find us over at Alouettes FL Deck, Facebook over at Alouettes Flight Deck Pod, or Instagram and YouTube over at Alouettes Flight Deck. Speaking of YouTube, make sure you like, hit the bell button, and set your notifications to know when we do go live or a new episode is going to be available. Also, you will find not only the broadcast version, the audio version, but also Flight Deck Live, our post game show, which you will be getting this week as a pre-game and a post-game version. So stay tuned for those. Looking to rep some merch during the off season? Head over to flightgear.ca. Gets whether it be our logo on a T-shirt, part of some of the items from the "If You Know You Know" line. Um, Maybe we'll come up with another. We have a couple of ideas that weren't put up this year. Maybe they'll pop up in the off season. So head over there and grab some merch. Rep the podcast. We love to see it. Um, Also, people at the Grey Cup, we still do have uh, some pins that with our partnership through Pin Force. They will be available, $10 each. One of the Cartoon Bird 56 and one of the podcast logo itself. Those will be available. Hit us up on our DMs, or if you happen to see us, ask us for one. See if one is available, because the money is going towards CFL Fans Fight Cancer initiative, and uh, we love to sell these things, and let's see if we can sell this out again. Version 2.0. See if we can sell these things out. Lastly, I want to thank our presenting sponsor this year, Royal Retros. If you go to royalretros.com and use the code FlightDeck at checkout, you will save 10% off your entire order. And with our collaborating sponsor with the pins, that's over at Pinforce. If you go over to pinforce.io, use the same code FlightDeck, you'll save 15% off your entire order.
Yeah.
So you've been a very busy boy. I know you have some other hits that you're going to be doing for Great Cup and representing us over the next couple of days, and some tonight, actually, too. But I wanted to bring up one other thing before we finish the show tonight.
Okay.
The CFL announced that in 2028, the CFL is going to allow players to participate in the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles, where flag football will be a sport for the very first time.
Mhm.
I want to know your thoughts about this, because they even said in the press release that, yes, they do know that the season will be going on at that time. This is not something like they do in the NHL, where they will stop the league. Well, maybe they could. Who knows?
Maybe.
For 2 weeks to allow for like the hockey tournament to do it, which I think they're going to do in when they're doing it this year in Italy, in 26 for Italy. Um, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, do you think that the league would shut down for 2 weeks potentially? I don't think so. And what are your thoughts on, we have the guys who have been making a name for themselves and who qualified for the Olympics seem to have a pretty good team so far for Team Canada. But what are your thoughts on some potential players going to LA and participating in the Olympics?
I think it would be kind of cool, to tell you the truth, and it would be really interesting to see who would be selected, because I think there's some obvious names right off the top: Nathan Rourke, Tyson Philpott, uh, Nick Dembski, potentially, uh, uh, Brady Oliveira, possibly. I
I
mean,
don't know how big the rosters are. See, that's what I don't know.
and yeah, like what? How big are these teams too? Is it going to be 7-on-7? Is it going to be 11-on-11? Like I'm not exactly sure how much. Like I know flag football, it's a little bit different from regular football in that sense. So it'd be almost very entertaining just to think of like NFL and CFL players all playing for their respective countries. And even more interesting is like when you factor in the global players in the league as well. If they would represent their respective countries, like Jose Matos Diaz, I don't know if they do kick. Well, no, I don't think they do kicking in flag football. But if they did, imagine him representing Mexico, for example. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities to see some really interesting stuff. But to see a Team Canada filled with CFL superstars, would be very interesting, especially because they more likely would be going against NFL players for the United States of America. And I guess we at that point, well, you can argue till the cows come home, like the better style of football and such. But I mean, flag football would be a different animal altogether. Just because you're
Mhm.
absolutely great in the CFL or the NFL, there's no guarantee you'd be necessarily great in flag football either. I mean, yeah, I know they say football is football, but at the same time, there's just little nuances here and there. And would that necessarily translate from the professional field to, I don't want to say amateur per se, but it would be a slightly different animal altogether. So I'm curious to see how this all plays out if it does, and I could think it could be very interesting to see.
I'm seeing here the sport. The game has mutated into many variations where you could have 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, or 4 players per side. There is no kicking, by the way. Your different point with different point after conversions. Field size vary from a full Canadian CFL size, NFL size. So I'm curious to know what it is. I would not be surprised if it is a set. I'll just say let's say a set 10 if that's the case, and a taxi squad as a just in case.
Hmm.
Um, do you think the league would? Because if you think about when the games are being played, I think it's right before Labor Day. Would you think the league would even attempt to go on a quote unquote bye week for up to 2 consecutive weeks for all CFL teams?
It's a possibility. My thought though is the American players that play in the CFL. I don't want to be disparaging, but they're probably not going to be even considered for making the Olympic team for Team USA.
Right.
In theory, they could go on and keep playing. Uh, Not every Canadian too is going to be selected as well for Team Canada. So it would it be really worth it to let a couple of the better known or superstar players that are Canadian born participate in the Olympics and shut down an entire league, even if it's just for 1 week? I
I don't
I don't know.
Yeah, no, here it
I
is.
think
16 tournament, 10 player rosters, and 5-on-5 play. Summer Olympics will take place from July 14th to the 30th, 2028, with the flag football men's and women's tournaments running from July 15th to the 22nd.
hmm,
So it's at the beginning of the season ish.
yeah. Well, I guess we'll see. I don't know if I could see the entire league shutting down. I almost think you'd almost have to force teams to, if they're missing one of their superstar Canadian-born
Yeah,
players, it's kind of like,
yeah,
well, it's like the ratio. You better have backups then. Like,
yeah.
I,
We
I
got to see
mean,
what more
again,
the rules are. Maybe Commissioner Johnston will be able to give a little bit more information on his whenever he speaks to the media this week or whatever it may be. But I'm curious to know what are the thoughts that they may be having within CFL HQ.
yeah. I guess we can find out. Maybe I think it's this coming Friday, the State of the League address with Commissioner Johnson. So definitely a question that could be asked, but maybe we won't have answers. I mean, they've got 3 years basically, or 2.5, I guess, to
Yeah,
get that figured out. So, you know, we'll we'll see. We can certainly ask. I mean, the worst thing he'd say is, "I don't know, but you'll find out soon enough."
exactly. Again, we are going to be having a hell of a week when it comes to coverage. Make sure you do stay tuned to all of our socials, and make sure you do bookmark our playlist over on our YouTube page for anything else that comes out. And again, have any suggestions? Send it to us, DM us, send us a message, and we'll try to do our best. But we'll both be in Winnipeg to cover the game, and we're really looking forward to it. So
Yeah.
again, stay tuned for our pregame show on Sunday, our postgame show on Sunday. These will both be under the Flight Deck Live banner, and uh, we will obviously be back next Wednesday to talk to you guys about what happened, and hopefully be able to talk about standing outside for a couple of hours, going rah rah rah. But we'll see. We will what one game at a time. One game at a time.
That's it. One thing I can guarantee though, based on how both these teams have played this year, Montreal and Saskatchewan, it is going to be a barn burner for sure. It is going to be a very entertaining matchup.
Yep, I completely agree with you. So again, stay tuned to all of our coverage here during the week, and we'll talk to you soon. So for the last time here at the Alouettes Flight Deck for Cliffy D, I'm Tim Capper. Run final approach.